last week in Boston, we had Boston AI Week, and part of that we had there was a share calendar. We were hoping to have 100 AI events throughout the city. We ended up getting 120. The city just came alive about, so it was really great. The city come up together and people step forward here. One of the ones I went to was a Harvard Business School, which walked through. It's a pretty simple use case, but to me, it was very pragmatic on how they rolled out a custom GPT for one of the exec edge classes at Harvard. I'm going to walk through their slides right here. And Raymond, can you see my slides? Okay, great. And Natalie and Fritz were the two that did the present. So this is custom GPT. Within Harvard, they have the OpenAI education edition. So there's OpenAI kind of consumer, that's the free and $20 version. And then the B2B or organizational ones are teams, which is now called, I think, business, then enterprise, and then education. And all those have an extra set of security measures. They don't train in the data here. And Harvard was one of the early schools that really rolled this out here. And they have really simple definition. A custom GPT is a version of a ChatGPT for automating repeatable tasks across groups. Is kind of the rolling definition they use. And you can share it with others. So pretty simple, straightforward example. One of the things they really focused on, which to me was really educational, on the difference between individuals using custom GPTs or GEMS equivalent in Google or agents in the Microsoft Copilot world versus teams or versus department, is that you really do need to get the subject matter expert is different than the person building it. So for them, it's really important to identify who the subject matter expert is, obviously who the audience is, identify what the knowledge documents are, where is the source of truth, how often is this data going to be updated here. Up front, to figure out early on which of the knobs within the custom GPT are you going to turn on and off for this. Are you going to allow it to search the open internet or not? Are you going to allow it to use visualization a lot? So there's 3 or 4 kind of toggles you have as you go and design one of these repeatable prompts called custom GPT. And then thinking a lot about the rollout and support strategy that they called scaffolding here. And they had 2. One they were called Sophie, and this was for one of the executive education programs. At Harvard, most of the money comes from the exec ed. The MBA students kind of flow through, but the real money's over in executive education. So they spent a lot of time really focusing on doing that well. And Professor Neely, she's got a class, and they took all her course material, her book, everything, and put it into one custom GPT. They turned on code interpreter and data visualization, but they turned off web search. So when the users came and asked a question of the data, it didn't go search the internet. It only searched the uploaded data, the data if you put in the brains, if you will, of the robot, which is a pretty straightforward, simple RAG implementation here. And this is an example of what it looks like over on the right. It's straightforward. If people haven't seen it, you can have some intro questions there. They're really happy with the pickup. They had 1,500 of the execs use it in the first 3 months. People picked it up pretty easily after they really got the word out about it here. So these are time-starved executives who are trying to learn this material in this exec edge course in here. And one of the things they really liked about it was personalized education around the clock and around the world, wherever these executives were coming back to. So pretty basic value add, but things they really valued about. They pulled together pretty quickly. They had the kickoff meeting with the professor, subject matter expert, July 7th, and 4 months later they launched. This is kind of the purpose of it. They use custom GPT from the Chat GPT EDU, so no custom. This is all no code stuff, very straightforward here. I think I knew this, I'd forgotten. You could only upload 20 documents to this. So that's one of the constraints on it. There's a few ways around it by using connectors, but in terms of upload, they were limited to 20. One of the things they'd learned, they really had to hone the persona of the executive coming in. So as they honed the prompt that was buried within the GPT, they really had to kind of think through and hone that persona, which I thought was a good reminder of how important that is because you want to get the tone right. Obviously, lots of prompt engineering here, a lot of feedback.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, please, Crystal.
So for these professors, was there some assistant or company that was helping them to build this?
Yeah, so to be real clear, the professors, Professor Neely, the people who build it are Natalie and Fritz in the IT group at at Harvard. So Natalie, kind of think of her as a program manager, product manager,
Mm-hmm.
and change management person, and Fritz as the technical
Got it.
support.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, so technically it wasn't that straightforward. They've spent a lot more of their time, honing answers. Now, one of the interesting things that they were sharing, I was talking to them after, is how do you know what's a good answer when you're testing this? So if you're the team here, if you're Natalie and Fritz, and someone puts in a question, how should I do this? You know, yes, an answer comes back from the uploaded material, but how do you know if it's a good answer, Raymond, or not? Because you're not the subject matter expert here. So, figure out exactly how much time you get from the subject matter expert and gauge the expectations on that is really important here. So for them, this was something where output veracity was really important. The last thing, I mean, these executive education things are, I think, expensive, like 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. The last thing they want to do is say, hey, spend all this money and use this tool that gives you joke answers or answers aren't consistent or so um, the easy part wasn't so much the technology. The technology easy part was more calibrating. How do we get confidence and how do we have a non subject matter expertise support the time starved subject matter expert in a very short time period here? Crystal, does that answer your question?
Paul, what was the answer? How did they do that?
They did. Good question. They learned that you really had to write down who your persona is for, what is executive. They want short answers, long answers. You're going to give them all the answer all at once or in different pieces here. Second is they learned that there were 15, 20 set of questions that the subject matter expert walk through both the question and answer from, and then periodically they had to go back and answer. Now, the subject matter expert thinks, wait a minute here, I already wrote all this stuff down, Christina. I'm busy here. Here's all my books, all my research. What else do you need?
Right.
Well, it turns out you need if you really want to have a high quality output, I'm going to need more of your time, Mr. Subject Matter Expert here. So as they go into next projects, they learned that we had to set the expectation up front. We're going to need 3, 4 hours up front, subject matter expert, and maybe an hour, once every few weeks here to just double check or fast response time on Q and A's, and we'll get out there. The other thing you got to think through is, what are we doing about drift? So, you pull all this together, and this was in ChatGPT 4, and boom, custom OpenAI puts GPT 5 in it. Is that do we care or not? Well, you go back, you get different answers here.
Better.
How much are the difference here? So, so to me, it was a really good set of practical things that even for a simple technical use case really is important. Because you think, what if this was also the customer service manual for a 50-person customer service group on something that you really cared about, not just saying, hey, look at that, we have a chat talking to a product. You actually care about the quality of the answers that are coming back. And for them, it was really important that they were able to turn off the search to the web. They really just wanted to narrow it down just to the content that was open here. Let's see here. I'll just go quickly through this. Those are the major things. Let's see. Disenabling. And the thing that got me around, if I go back to this one, that it's in the back of my head. I just want to write it down. I mean, one of the things we're not even doing well enough on our own side on tool one training is writing down the 6 or 8 key bullets to a requirements document. Oh, you want to do a GPT for your department? Great. Who's the subject matter expert? Who's going to own this quality? Who's going to double check it? Where's the source of truth? How are you narrowing the expectations of the user so when they come to this, they understand this isn't all the knowledge at HBS. This isn't knowledge for all the classes I'm taking. This is just one professor's. So kind of that messaging around keeping alignment there, and then iterating on the written um, uh, persona of the user that was really important here. One other thing that I don't have the slides for that was very instructive was later on in the day, they had professors from the undergrad school talking about how they're introducing AI and teaching physics. And one of the things they learned was that when they did, the students, when they asked the question, the AI would typically give them a huge answer. And that's not what they wanted. They wanted very active learning. So they built a prompt that said, only give me a small part of the answer back, then ask a follow-up question. So you put the same prompt in, but because you had custom instructions or ChatGPT behind it here, it would end up just being a lot more like a teacher who was giving you small pieces out rather than saying, here's a whole book on how quantum physics work here. So, I think a real lesson on all the power of context engineering and prompt refinement. Yeah, go ahead, Crystal.
So I really like this back and forth in terms of instruction. So this summer I was taking like Series 7 with a lot of different options. And there was like a training platform called Not My Marks. But I actually went into chat and I said, well, how do I do this option? How can I answer this question? Can you take me? And I was going back and forth and back and forth. And that really gave me, as you're saying, like all the baby steps to really, really learn. And it was just with like regular chat.
Yeah, no, I think it's really, yeah, and it really taught me there's so much negative stuff on AI, but AI done right in the classroom, I think at least what I saw, they're starting to think about how to do it, particularly because it can be so patient and go on whatever timetable and whatever altitude you want. So if you want to ask it sixth grade questions and eighth grade questions and do it in an hour, or you want pictures and someone else just wants to jump right to there, and it's not judging you. So it's really powerful if the prompts are set up right going into it. If you just let the students just willy-nilly ask, they'll sometimes get less useful stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah, does HBS have a standard solution that they sponsor for their professors and grad students? Or is it you can do what you want, we're just recommending this? This is one process you can use.
Yeah, it's pretty experimental right now. This is, I think, the first and second GPT they have. They now have got, I think, 20 or 30, but 3 or 4 professors are experimenting with different approaches, and this is one of the approaches they're taking.
Right. I've been telling people I think we're in a bridge time, or we're bridging before legacy systems and what's going to come. And what we do now may not matter a year from now, or yeah.
So that's let me skip through the rest. I think that's what I wanted to show. It was, I think, a really good basic case study here and a good reminder that so much Raymond, so much of the stuff is the technology is 20-30% of it. The change management and understanding is the hard part. And I don't hear a lot of discussion, in general about, what can make or break a project, and it's not the technology or the underlying model here at all. Um, they had a few other things. One of the things I just thought was on actually building products. A lot about, it takes a village when you really start building these complicated things here. And it's way more than just technology, and the UX and the subject matter experts and the data scientists are critical here. So that's what I wanted to show on that. And so for the main part, folks who were at the conference last week. So for folks who don't know, we had an annual conference last week. We call it GAI World. Sold out, 600 plus people, but I know a handful of people here attended. Love to folks share what they learned and key takeaways.
Hey Paul, I'll jump in. I think I was actually surprised to the extent of uptake that was presented by some of the panelists as far as, how much change is happening in organizations and finding success in different use cases. Obviously still a lot of experimentation and things changing extremely fast. But it was faster than I think I had even anticipated.
When you say uptake, Scott, you're talking about number of agents or number of,
I'm talking about like just thinking about like the presentations from Liberty Mutual and others on some of the panels and talking about how they are driving use and where they're finding benefits.
Yep.
There's an analyst presentation kind of looking at some bifurcation of companies in different industries, of those that are starting to successfully use Gen AI for different use cases versus those that aren't, and how that might be manifesting in actual corporate performance, right? So things like that were pretty interesting for me.
And for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, they've got 151 agents in production in a highly regulated insurance company here. So they're really pushing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What'd you learn, Lucinda? What surprised you?
Yeah, well, let's see. I think one of the things that you've always been talking about, but I think was really echoed quite a bit, was that leaders must be hands-on with AI. And this is really tough, especially if people feel like they're going to be embarrassed doing that in front of their people. That's I think that's one. The speed is a new competitive moat, is now a competitive moat, was a really great quote, I think, from the VC private equity panel. And really what generative AI does is it really enables a lot of speed going on. Another one was the data foundation is really non-negotiable. And this is just like, eat your broccoli, water your crops all year to make sure that your stuff grows. And it's so boring, but it's, at every wave, whether it was data visualization or whether it's, machine learning, and now with AI, having the data in place, and it's a little bit, you have to feel like you boil the ocean, but if you can just do things in a very focused manner initially, and then you can start turning the crank on getting your data in a state in order. So those are like top three things. Yeah, and then of course evals. People were talking about evals. As you know, I'm really into evals right now because we're scaling up a particular project. And yeah, that question that you asked, Paul, what is a good answer, right? What is good? And you need to have some sort of way to judge that. And it involves bringing in the subject matter experts, creating, cultivating golden data sets and being able to just keep testing and finding out what your error modes are. So those are a few things.
That's great, Lucinda. I couldn't agree on what's good enough. I mean, for me, my too many years in software, I mean, it's the extra criteria of that Jira ticket. How do we know when that ticket's done? And for people around in software, it's a non-trivial thing at times. But Lucinda, while you get the microphone, tell us about the Women in AI breakfast. I know that was well attended on day 2.
Yes, yep. So that was really well attended. We had a multitude of tables dealing from everything from change management to marketing to I ran a table on evals. I thought the quality of the participants was just super high. People were asking very sophisticated questions. I very much appreciate the role that AWS played in that. The woman, Kaylee, who was the one who sponsored the Women in AI breakfast, was just fantastic. I mean, I think she's just such a fantastic resource, and that if people keep in touch with her, I think that'll be great. But I very much appreciate just the ability to kind of seek out women who are in AI and that we could find each other and connect with each other.
That's great.
Uh,
Oops, yeah,
I'm
Stephen.
on microphone, Paul. This is Ezra Calvert. Sorry, I'm off camera.
Go ahead, Ezra. Yeah.
I just wanted to echo what Lucinda said for the Women in AI breakfast. It was just such a stellar discussion, and the focus on business needs, prioritization, and feasibility, how to take a structured approach, and the ethics component. How do we build more people-focused products and approaches were really central to the discussions, and overall very stellar conference. I love seeing that structured approach to AI implementation. We don't want 1,000 flowers. I think that was one of the quotes from one of the speakers. So now that seeing that focus from a strategic top-down, bottoms-up approach was very encouraging. So thank you for everything. And thank you, Lucinda.
That's
Thank you
great.
for being at the table. That was awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead, Christina.
I just wanted to say I really appreciated the Women in AI breakfast as well, and had an amazing experience at the Black Partner lunch. We had such a powerful table, really great conversations. It was led by Yvette, who's from the payer world. There she is. I didn't realize you were on the call, Yvette. And the conversation was really rich with detail around the challenges and the approaches that people were using to get to deployment and adoption. I think one of the things that was clear getting increasingly clear to me, Paul, is that this emphasis on organization-wide as opposed to individual, department level or individual projects was very clear. Really not just from the stage, but actually from the breakout sessions too. There was no surprise, there was a lot of conversation about AEO, JEO, and so forth, because Rosemary was there and leading some conversations, as was your marketing team, leading some discussions about how to use it in marketing. And it's sort of struck me that we're still in very early stages there. So I was kind of surprised by that a little bit. We're actually further ahead in some of the other more challenging operational areas. And I want to take a bet with this group about the first company that uses agents to fill in the CRM. Because if there is one use case we need in the enterprise, it is to have the CRM data populated by an agent instead of by human beings, so we're not missing data, and so the data comports with the requirements that we have for data. That will help to drive our revenue pipeline in ways that we have never had it before, and I still don't hear anybody talking about that.
Well, and with high accuracy. So
with high accuracy, exactly, Paul, exactly right. So I'm sorry I was late for the call, I wasn't here for introductions, but I do want to mention we are doing AI Realize Summit on November the 5th in San Francisco. Paul and John will both be there speaking on the stage, and we will be talking about very similar topics. It's sort of the West Coast equivalent of GAI World. And you're all welcome to be there. I'll put a link with a code in it so you can register with a discount. But there is nothing like being in person and learning from other people in the room. This came out many times in the discussion about how people learn better when they're together. From a scientific point of view, they've proven that. But also, we were experiencing it together, that we learned so much just by being together in the discussion about how things are done. So I encourage you to come to AI Realized and continue to participate in groups like this and your local Woodstock groups and similar, so that you can work together to learn.
that's great. Go ahead, Alden, and Crystal. Go ahead, Alden.
Yeah, for me, the big ones were the PE guys. They are always like ahead of the game. And some of the things they were saying, like, for every $1, put $3 in change management. The fact that if you do AI right, you get a 15% valuation bump. That was great to see. The John Swiokla comment of like, you can always buy a technology, but you need to grow a capability. The Ps were echoing that. So like fantastic use cases. Like I had taken some notes. The Vex lady was fantastic. Like, she's in the front line. It was good to see the ratios. She has 6,000 employees and 50 AI champions, right?
Yeah.
That tells you that 1 in 100 will be a true AI champion. And it's like our job to like hone in on that one guy. My last point is like, Christina, your wish is my command. And today we released an AI agent that feeds straight into the CRM. So, as of today, you are not allowed to say that it doesn't happen.
Who's doing that?
We just released a product today that feeds straight into the CRM.
No way.
Because customers were asking for it.
I'm there, man. I'm there.
Yes.
Put a link in the chat.
Yeah,
I don't have the marketing page ready yet, so we'll make it work first for the customers and then do a formal launch.
That's great. Go ahead, Crystal, and then Ellis.
Yeah, so my takeaways were also ensuring that there's a human in the loop, that change management is one of the critical success factors of the AI implementation. And just on Christina and Aiden in reference to the CRM. So ex Morgan Stanley, and I know a while back we had a product called Debrief that would listen to financial advisors' conversations with their clients, if everyone agreed, then take the research that we had from our research department and come up with recommendations, for the advisors to give to their clients. But I don't know, Alden, if it has been plugged into the CRM, which I think would be something additional to really drive revenue. Just wanted to share that use case too.
That's great. And Crystal, I'd be remiss to not talk about your amazing contribution as our announcer on a live AI show for
Thank you. I
JPMorgan Day
had so
2.
much fun,
Crazy
especially the
idea,
side
5 days. Yeah,
conversations,
yeah.
right? It was a little crazy because it was the first time we were doing it, but it was really nice during the breaks to have like side conversations with participants and speakers and Paul and John. So it was really awesome. So for those of you who did not attend next year, plug into the live stream.
I'm curious how many people were on the watching on the live stream.
You know what? It's good. So I think the highest we got was really only around 40. And I think that's amazing with our 4 days prior marketing. So I was happy with that.
Good. That's good.
We didn't advertise it because we didn't know we could actually
Yeah, he was
pull it
nervous
off.
about my performance.
No, your
I,
performance
I'm
was
actually wondering about for Summit whether we should be doing that, Paul. That's why I'm asking. And I have to find someone as talented as Crystal to be our person. Maybe David Yakovovich will be that person.
well, and for folks, we use a software called StreamYard for the daily show, which is just off our laptops. And of course, the AV team saying, "Oh yeah, we'll just plug it in." Well, of course, it didn't quite work the first time, and we
Yeah.
had to get another laptop and signals. And anyway, it was, but we pulled it off, and people were really grateful. And Crystal, you did just a fabulous job. So
No,
thank
it's
you.
my pleasure. It's a lot of fun.
Maybe I
Yeah.
should just recruit Crystal to be at AI Relay Summit.
I think she might be
Maybe
recruitable.
I'll have to fly. I have no job. I do nothing but go to conferences
Well,
every
we'd love to
day.
have you, Crystal.
What would you learn, Alice?
Oh, well, first of all, it's just such a lively, vibrant community, as you mentioned, that in the Greater Boston area for the social generative AI community. But the thing I learned the most is actually just within a year, I've noticed actually the other chief information security officers or cybersecurity officers now have gained a strong understanding about how, not only what, but how to manage the security around various use of AI tools. So I learned some great insights from the panel there. Uh, but the other thing I would be remiss not to mention is that I would give credit to the whole GIA World team, especially the Jenna and team. You guys actually uh, basically eat your dog food. You basically used all the AI tools. You showcase to all of us all the AI tools that you and your team use, down to even the intern, the fantastic intern who
Oh,
walked through his
thank you.
research projects.
People don't know, 1 to 2 each day, we had vendor product demos, and we had a vendor drop out, and we had an open spot, and someone said, maybe we should show how we use our tools internally. So I said, we'll just do that as kind of a, kudos for internal. We were hoping to get 20 or 30 people, but there were like 100 to 200 people for each of those sessions. So it was quite an interest in real practical thing, how we were using GPTs, how we were using custom GPT on the front end. We use N8N, and the high school senior had a great project here. Some of the coding we were doing, so it was
You
really
guys certainly eating your dog food.
well, we're trying to, Ellis, and I think, I tell everyone internally that know this. I mean, we have to be exemplars. We've got to use Copilot and ChatGPT to the maximum. One, because we learn, and two, we can help these companies figure out, because a lot of these companies are really struggling. Do I support both tools? I roll out Copilot. Everyone still uses ChatGPT. Do I have to buy two licenses? I buy two licenses for different people. How do I have a department-specific one? It's a non-trivial thing here. But go ahead, Matt. What'd you learn?
There's a bunch of takeaways. Thanks again for you putting it on, and it was really great. One of the ones was Ashish's breakout session about the agent failure mode. A couple of things is vibe coding does not equal validation. Don't vibe code your way into production. Kind of use it as more of a prototype. Him talking about the different ways that the agents can fail was a little bit jarring, just how many different ways there are, and how, as the agentic, as that becomes more prevalent, just it's kind of dangerous territory. We just have to be careful around that. Another area was just seeing how different companies used it. So like Bain Capital, I think if I heard it correctly, he said that on his internal tools, his employees have built 28,000 GPTs, I think. Paul, I forget if you were on stage for that one.
Yeah, I think Bain Consulting, I think it was, not the Capital Group. The consulting.
Okay.
Yeah, but quite a few. Very, very impressive.
And then also John's concept of bringing your posse. So like bringing your computer posse, he mentioned that a few times. And I definitely think that's the way that it's going to be. So yeah, there's a bunch, but those are just a few.
Matt, I appreciate your comment about not vibe coding yourself in a production. I got fired up about a week or so ago and spit out this blog about the difference between a production and a prototype and a production site. And I probably had like 5 people walk up to me at the conference thanking me for writing that, and reminding that there's a lot of stuff that goes into true production software. Um, Others that may have attended, who else I have on here? I saw Tim. Tim, are you still on? What'd you take away, Tim?
I'm here.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I took away has been said. So I second a lot of the comments. I think if I were to add, I would say, interesting. I ran a little panel on regulation, AI in regulated industries, and the interesting comment was made, and it really resonated, that actually regulated industries may be ahead to a certain extent because they've sort of had to get their data governance and data act together in order to comply with most of the regulations that they're under. So healthcare, financial services, various regulated industries kind of have a leg up and are able to move more quickly because they don't have this data quality problem. That's not perfect, but that let's say they're ahead of the game in data quality. Second thing was, again, how many significant organizations are in significant production. I thought maybe the single best session was with Liberty Mutual, JPMorgan, and Johnson & Johnson. You have 3 Fortune 100 companies basically saying, yeah, we're doing this every day with thousands to tens of thousands of employees in production. So that's as much of a proof point as you need. And then the last thing is, there is still, to the point that was made earlier about education, despite that, this is still pockets. And the average person at the average corporation can barely spell this stuff. And there's a long ways to go to bring up the general literacy of a large organization, to your point about all the education that's required.
Yeah. One of the things that people saw in the opening, John Spielk and I worked on the opening. We want to say, what were the 7 major things that happened in the last year, which really kind of forced us to think. And we were shocked by almost all 7 we didn't think existed a year ago, Alden. I mean, a year ago, there wasn't reasoning models. A year ago, everyone was saying that the AI couldn't create new knowledge. Yet it went through, created new things here. There were just glimmers of kind of the SEO bloodbath. So it's really kind of breathtaking how so many areas exceeded, some of us optimists last year. And, when we have the same call a year from now, I don't see why that's not even going to be even higher up there. Yeah.
Well, the Harvey use case was interesting in that respect too.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
their revenue retention and customer retention, but then also the unknowns and the lively discussion that happened afterwards. That was, I thought, one of the most fun sessions of the whole thing.
So for folks that don't know, day 2, Jeffrey Raport, professor at Harvard Business School, ran a whole HBS case for the whole, 500 people there, 600, and he ran it on Harvey AI, which was, he pulled together like 3 weeks before last year's conference, and we're just getting started. This year's conference, they had a whole lot more data. They're doing quite well. There's also 150 competitors, lots of big strategic questions here, and real lively discussion on, very vibrant part of that market. We also got a lot of good feedback on the adoption model that we rolled out that had 2 bimodal things. Many companies still in kind of stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 2 was kind of experimenting. Then a big gap in stage 3 is when you really start getting this coordination and synchronization across departments, and how those leaders we continue to see are getting further ahead than the pack. And I don't see that really changing. And, I think next year it may be further ahead, and a real question on, boy, can you even catch up in some of these industries if you don't get moving and you're in an industry, a lot of change. But no other comments, we'll go to open mic. Last call.
I'll comment, Paul. I was able to attend both days in Boston, and thanks to you, John, and the entire GAI team. It was nice to actually meet a lot of our Learning Lab members in person, some of whom are on this call. I think some of my takeaways are echoed already, but there was a lot of conversation around ensuring AI literacy, data governance, if you're working at a startup or launching a startup, ensuring that there are use cases that are valuable to businesses and the customer you serve. I did like the Apollo private equity gentleman's remarks around experimental recurring revenue, because there are a lot of experiments, if you will, going on inside corporations, big and small. So that was also, well taken. Overall, it was fantastic. The Women in AI breakfast as well. Great event. It was great to see so many women leaders across different industries, you know, discuss how they're leveraging AI in their work and use cases around it. So well done to you and the team.
Well, no, thank you. Thank you for coming. So great. For the last 10 minutes, open mic. Open mic, you can ask a question, share. Who's used Sora, the new video thing that's doing all the fun videos out there, or Sora 2, I think it's called? Or things people are impressed with? Yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, I was just first of all, I wanted to thank you for also streaming it for people like me who weren't able to be there, but thank you very much. That was very kind of you, and I watched a bunch of it. What I also wanted to say too is sort of I tend to, as you know, lean to the side of being super enthusiastic about all this stuff and very excited. And I find it just life transforming. And at the same time, I've both heard from high-level enterprise people and myself experienced, what they call the jagged edge, which is you just don't know when it's going to be horrible. And sort of dealing with that is somewhat emotionally and practically exhausting. So, so on the one hand, these models are solving math problems that are amazing and better than PhD level people. On the other hand, I was just using it for tutoring a student where it was unable to take, and I tried this with several different of the frontier models, unable to take a picture of a graph and integrate it properly. This is just a simple graph. And so you have it all over the place. And then you hear, and I've experienced this personally, like you said, where do I find it helpful? Like in some ways it's allowed me to do things I couldn't imagine doing in my whole lifetime without it. So like, it's amazing. At the same time, I heard Google's CEO interviewed by Lex Friedman, and he said averaged over Google, all of Google, and they're pushing it like crazy, as you know, they're not they're the whatever, that it was about 10% increase in engineering productivity, which he said was amazingly high, but on the other hand, compared to some of our experiences where it multiplies it by a factor of 1,000, 10% seemed low. So all I wanted to share was just the, what they call the jagged edge. Like it's incredibly exciting, and you have to be so attentive to not let it lead you astray. And it's just a weird thing to navigate.
Right, right. And not only that, the jagged edge moving at times because of those model drift. And there's hallucination within the jagged.
Exactly. And I didn't mean to ramble too long there. I just wanted to share. So yeah.
That's great.
David, you remind me of something that John said that I thought was really important to share with others. And that was, in all of the years that he has been working, his work has changed more since ChatGPT came out than it has changed in all the years he has been in the workforce. I think that's a very profound statement, and it helps, I think, people get a sense of both how significant it is, but why it's important that they step in and get their hands on the wheel.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
We'll go to Alexander, then we'll go to Raymond. Alexander, you want to go ahead?
Made it to the GAI event, but excuse me?
Alexander, I think your internet's, can you hear us, Alexander? Are you on mute?
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me here?
Alexander, we're going to come back to you. It sounds like your internet. Sorry. Go ahead, Raymond.
Oh, yeah. I was relating to what was being said. You get that pit in your stomach, right? I've been working on a project and I've been very purposeful You know, I do things in small sections. You know, I test everything, but you know, very quickly, I'm in Cursor and then Claude Code, and very quickly it can get annoying with like the positive, like excellent, yeah, great, you know, and it'll do something, and I know it's wrong, and I'll tell it it's wrong, and it's like, awesome. Like, I'm so glad you pointed that out. It's like, dude, like, why did you do it in the first place? Like, and you have to be really careful. So I did something where I implemented a bunch of, it's in healthcare. And so I implemented a bunch of like security stuff, like SOC 2, like all this stuff, right? And then I also was integrating at the same time, well, not the same time, but close to that, memory, long-term and short-term memory as well into this application. It wiped out part of the memory part while working on the security part. And I didn't realize it until I, you know, was doing, you know, testing and going through, and all of a sudden, like, you know, functionality was gone. And I had to go back to GitHub and go through and see what I had to ask it which commit made the change. I mean, it just, it's something that you would do anyway as a software engineer, but it would just, that pit in my stomach was just like, oh man, all that work, like I thought for sure it was gone. You know, thank God that I'm using version control and able to, you know, recap. But yeah, these models will fool you. Like, you know, sip the Kool-Aid. Don't
It's
drink
like
it.
you have a Formula One racer, but one of the tires is made out of pasta, and no one has told you that.
That's
and,
it.
and you don't know where the unreliability is, David. Yeah.
Exactly. The brake works 3 times, and then you hit it, and it pops. You know, it's the ejector seat.
Right. And we're driving Teslas, right?
Yeah.
Like, people don't get it.
Yeah.
Alexander, let's go back to you. Is your internet working? Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, it was I actually was in DC here, so I went to the SCSP event that was thrown by Eric Schmidt and his association, his organization. It was really good to hear from like actual thought, you know, different thought leaders from like, you know, there was this guy that was a filmmaker and he was talking about Sora and he had like 3 week or a 3 early week access, and he was talking about how he thinks that celebrities are going to get monetized for being in Sora. So, you know, they have this feature called Cameo, and that's going to be kind of a thing in the future. And I thought that was pretty interesting to hear. And outside of just open AI related stuff, I think that people should kind of keep their eye on Figure, because they've been working with BMW in production to make parts for, I think, their X4 car, I believe it is. And the robots have been working 10 hours a day. So just remember that even though we have all these agents and all that stuff going on, then we have other horizon, which is robotics. And that's going to be like the physical aspect of AI. And I think that that's going to be really important in the next, like, what, 3 years? Interesting to see that like come to fruition.
And Alexander mentioned Figure is the name of the physical robots that are in the factories.
Yeah, the
right?
physical robots. Yeah, the actual humanoid robots. So
yeah,
that's the name of the company, Figure IO. I think it's going to be $1 billion company if it's not already.
At least I think they've maybe passed that already. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, they might have passed it already. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a quick practical question, Paul, because you mentioned that there might be a workaround to the 20 file limit through connectors, you said, and I don't know about this, and I would love to know. So we don't have to do it right here, but it may be useful to other people as well.
Oh, I still have to check it. I'm told if you point it at SharePoint and it's turned on, you can have SharePoint have more than 20 files in it. I have not tested that. I've been told that. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Is that not correct, Alden?
No, see, you can connect to SharePoint, but it'll only do like string searches for you. If you want to do like true semantic search, then you'll have to use something like MCP to do it.
So
Getting
okay.
technical here, but you know, that the ChatGPT product is for like small GPTs, like, you know, a couple of files.
Well,
So,
more specifically, 20 max files is what.
20 max is a thing. Yeah.
So okay. Alden, you're not aware of a workaround that works, and the one I was told is not a true workaround.
No, it's a nice stopgap approach because it lets you do string searches and it'll help a little.
Do you
How
know by
big
chance?
are those documents? What's the max size?
What's
They
that?
say 100 MB or something, but when I put in 100 MB, it like started giving internal errors and things like that.
Does
So,
anyone know, does projects allow you to get around it? Does it also have the 20 limit?
yeah.
It has the 20 limit. I've tried pretty much
Okay.
every variation. There's no way around the 20 item limit as far as I can tell.
All right. Well, Tim, I'll let you know. We're got three companies are asking us right now, so we're doing research on that.
Yeah, I think you have to go. I think it's, it's pretty simple. It's both cost control and it's context window. And so they, rather than actually dynamically figure it out, they just said, okay, we're just going to put a limit of 20. Or there probably is some data window, as Alden was referencing as well. But they're just controlling for their context window and their cost. So you need to do a RAG or something like that if you have more data.
Right.
You have to do custom RAG if you want more data. This is just a prototyping tool because again, cost control, and it lacks a lot of fine-tuning capabilities that you would typically need to fix problems with re-ranking and everything.
Yeah, I'm just surprised, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Microsoft didn't think a little more clearly about many things. One of which would be they own like so much data in SharePoint. Not that they own it, but there's so much data stored in SharePoint that it's astonishing that nobody in all of Microsoft said, we should create we should hire Alden or something and do something really simple so people could just point at lots of SharePoint files and have it start to work instead of having to go through Azure services and programming a RAG, because a lot of small organizations, even large organizations, don't have those skills.
Yeah. Great. Let's rack up quickly. Leslie, Matt, and then Lucinda will be last one. Go ahead, Leslie.
You're on mute.
Yeah, got it. Hey, I love this group. I'm so glad I'm here. You guys are so smart and doing so many things. It really quickly, one of the things I'm working on is image affordance, which is, I think, a new way to do relationships within AI, because the AI can understand the affordance of an object, and the subject matter expert, I'm put some mug there, and a subject matter expert and a user can understand it. So if anybody has any feedback about that concept or wants to talk to me, and I'm just doing, it could be horrible. You could think it's horrible, and that's fine too.
Great.
What is affordance?
Affordance is when something naturally shows its uses before you even pick it up, before you even see it. So a mug has this little thing on the end, which you think, wow, I could put my fingers there. So you naturally know it could do that. If you extend that metaphor, it's in the design world. If you extend that metaphor to other concepts, a mug holds things. A mug can be passed to somebody else. You drink out of a mug. It's a container. The AI knows all that if you call something a mug. And because of that, you can create new types of relationships and use it to create context.
That's great.
So why can't that be done with a simple prompt to GPT Vision? You could just say like, show me the affordances of that. And
you can.
Yeah.
You can get the affordances, but you can't connect them. So what I'm working on is drag and drop to connect the different relationships from the subject matter expert. I'm focusing on that to show how they work together and establish actually simple rules. So to make it easy for the subject matter expert, but yet extensible enough for the users.
Great. 2 more minutes. Go ahead, Matt and Lucinda.
I'm just curious to see if companies like N8N can survive, because it seems like all the big players are coming for every time they come out with a tool, they're coming out for those tools. So I just read that ChatGPT is going to release something called Agent Builder in beta, which I don't know if it's actually an agent.
Kit.
Yeah, Agent Kit.
It was announced today.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's a true agent or if it's just an automated workflow, but regardless, it seems like they're coming for N8N and they're trying to keep everything in their own sandbox. So between this week and next week, it's endless. So we'll see what.
And Matt, we've seen that before, right? So the leader does a roadmap item, and even if it's only 10% of the incumbent, sometimes it's enough to kill the incumbent. So I hear a lot of N8N though. We're a lot of people use that right now. Some interesting ways to go. Lucinda, wrap us up here.
Alrighty. All right. So just interested in knowing if how people are handling context engineering. because, you know, it's one thing to talk about with a RAG where you have a lot of different you know, data that it could look at, and then you've got to deal with, you know, retrieval and re-ranking and all that, et cetera. But then, like, how do you solve this thing about the delicate art and science of getting just the right information into the LLM that can then process it properly? Just if anybody wants to talk about that, maybe as a project, I'd be really interested in hearing about that. Because what I'm trying to do with workflows is to just make sure that I have only the right stuff going into the LLM, and the LLM can then work its magic. If I clog it up with too many other things, it's just it gets messed up. So
Wonderful. Well, thanks everyone. Yet another great learning lab. We missed everyone last week, but we'll be back next week, and let's keep the learning going.